Hello all and welcome to Wow Crochet Designs. My name is Mary and in today's tutorial we are working on the gorgeous Alpine Stitch swatch. Swatch number 25, yay! Anyone joining us new? Well, I'm not always this crazy, I'm usually half crazy, but this is our final swatch that we are working on for the Swatch Blanket of 2021. For our regulars, yay, 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 get excited. Were you expecting the Alpine Stitch? I bet you weren't. It's been a little secret of mine that I've been wanting to do the Alpine Stitch on our channel for quite some time now. And this, oh my gosh, is divine. Now, if you wanted to change colors, I didn't mention it throughout the tutorial, but always change on one of these extended crochet rows, okay, not on your single crochet row, on one of the extended, okay, and change after every 4 rows, okay, if that helps. All right, but after every 4 rows once you start your extended rows, because your first 2 rows are a row of single crochet and doubles. So there you go, get excited guys, this is all happening. You will need your spot saver yarn. It's 100% acrylic. We've been using this particular brand all the way through. This is called Mint, this color. Now you will be needing a, let's have a look here, a 5mm hook. And again, we've been using the 5mm hook all along. Yay, yay, yay. You will need your scissors, 2 stitch markers, yay, I've lost the other one, it's around here somewhere, your sewing darning needle, you'll need it for just 2 threads if you're not doing color change, and you will need your measuring tape. As my regulars would know, each swatch is 8 by 8 inches or 20 centimeters by 20 centimeters squared swatches, okay? What can I say about the Alpine Stitch? It is simply divine. This is the kind of stitch you can use as a cardigan or a jumper, and it does take up a lot of yarn. This particular piece took 36 grams. Like, that's a quarter of that yarn, almost a quarter of that yarn. So just heads up there, guys. It does, it's a yarn eater. But look, is it not divine? I mean, look at it. I love it. And it looks like you've spent hours trying to produce this gorgeous stitch. And it really is, once you are used to crocheting your double crochet stitches and your front posts and your single crochets, this is a very simple piece. Okay, it doesn't look simple, but believe me, it is really quite basic. The Alpine Stitch can be used for jumpers, blankets, cardigans, whatever you want to use it for. You can use it as a cloth, you know, washcloth, or a face washer, whatever you want to use it for. Guys, you can make it in cotton, wool, whatever you want to do. But because we are sticking to our pattern, I should say our swatch blanket, we're all doing it in the same, similar acrylic kind of yarn. No, it doesn't matter what you do it in, just do it and get excited, because I am. Because this is our final swatch. What? And in a couple of days' time, guys, you will see a very small video pop up about washing and steam blocking your pieces. So you're going to have the 2 versions, so you can decide for yourself what is the better version or the better way of blocking acrylic yarn, because someone did mention to me once, you should never wash and block acrylic yarn, you should steam block it. Well, I don't know, maybe not. Let's try them both and see what comes out of it. Hey, let's try them both. Anyway, guys, that will be coming up in a couple of days' time. Keep your eyes peeled for that. In the meantime, let's get together and make this gorgeous Alpine Stitch swatch. Swatch number 25. Good luck, guys. Alrighty, guys. So we are going to start off by forming a quick slip knot, grabbing your tail end, wrapping it around your finger once and twice, holding it there and holding it down there. Pass your back loop halfway over, hold it there, pass the other loop all the way over your finger and pop your hook in and give it a tug. Now just leave yourself a long enough tail to weave in at the end of your swatch. Okay, so let's bring that up. The Alpine Stitch is a multiple of 2. Okay, so we're going to chain up 22. All right, and we'll talk about measurements towards the 3rd or 4th row, and we can talk about that later. All right, but in the meantime, let's chain 22. Yarn over your hook, pull a loop through once, yarn over twice, yarn over 3, yarn over 4, yarn over 5. All right, continue that until you get to 22 and off we go. 6, 7, 8, let's bring that out a bit now. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21 and 22. And there you go, 22. Now, as you know, that first chain, for the regulars would know this, doesn't count as a stitch, so we're going to chain an extra 1. All right, so that stitch right there does not count, so this is a stitch that counts, yeah? So what we're going to do here, let's get a little bit more of a close-up. We're going to do a row of single crochets, and a single crochet is pop your hook in your first stitch, and that's that top loop you see right there. Pull a loop through, 2 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through 2, grab a stitch marker like so. All right. In your next stitch you're doing another single, so there's your loop, hook in, pull a loop through, yarn over, pull through 2, and again in the next, like so. All right, so this is all you're doing in this row right here, and that is a super duper easy row. All right, so let's just pick up speed and get to the end of the row so we can get ready for our next step. Okay, and the fact that there's only 22 stitches means that it will go by very quickly. Now you're all wondering how I'm going to make 20 centimeters out of 22 stitches. Well, guess what, guys, this stitch it stretches. It really stretches, and it won't make exactly 20 centimeters or 8 inches. It'll make like a 19 3/4 or just under 8 inches. All right, so just a heads up there. If you are joining us new, firstly, welcome. Secondly, our squares are matching, our swatches are matching 20 by 20 centimeters or 8 by 8 inches. Here we go, we're almost there. Let's get a nice close up. There's your second last stitch there, single crochet. Now your last stitch looks like it's dangling, yeah? So you know it's a stitch. There's the loop, pop the hook in, pull a loop through, yarn over, pull through 2. Just pull up that loop for a minute, and what I want you to do is count these little V's or Y's, if you want to call them, all the way across, and make sure you've got 22. All right, so we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, and your stitch marker is 22. Then go back here, because I found this with a lot of the swatches, that little knot looks really knotty. You can actually give it a big tug and it pulls the knot in a little bit. All right, makes it less knotty. I probably should have mentioned that in the very first swatch we did, but I'm sure you figured it out when you weaved it in. All right, now we are going to do our next row. So that is turning your work, and you can turn your work any way you like, whether you turn it that way or whether you turn it like I do. It's like a page in a book, like so. Okay, and it's entirely up to you. Just remain consistent throughout your work. All right, from here we're going to chain up 2, 1, 2, and that will act, let me put a stitch marker in that chain, that will act as your very first double crochet. I was about to say single then. It'll act as your very first double crochet. Now I know I'm splitting this yarn, and I reckon I'm going to split it more. All right, here we go. So yarn over your hook. You are, or your chains are actually in that stitch there. You don't see it, but they are actually there. So you need to put your first double crochet, where it's, see the little V's you see here, in the very next, not that first space, but your very next space. And your double crochet is a yarn over your hook, skip that first space, pop it right into your next stitch, like so. Pull the loop through, 1, 2, 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through the last 2. And you're going to do that in every stitch across. Now the stitches you are putting them in, and let me just show you so the newbies know this, you can give your work a tug and that top space you see right there with 2 loops on top and there's a little space on the bottom. All right, so you give your work a tug if you can't find it, and right there like so, 2 loops on top and your space on the bottom. All right, so I hope that helps the newbies. For everybody else who knows exactly what they're doing, yarn over your hook in your next stitch, pull a loop through, 3 loops, yarn over 2, yarn over 2, and into the very next stitch all the way across your row. So I'm going to pop this on fast for you until we get to the end of the row, and off we go. Alrighty guys, how'd you go? Good, we're almost there. I've got 2 more stitches left, which is the stitch marker stitch and the one just before it. And we're going to put a double crochet in that stitch just before your stitch marker, like so. And then one in that stitch of the stitch marker. Take out your stitch marker if you like, or you can do your stitch first, whatever suits you. I find it awkward with the stitch marker in there, but there you go. And that so far is what you have, right? You have 1 row of single crochets and 1 row of double crochets, and guess what guys, you're doing another row of single crochets, all right? But before you do, you are chaining 1, turning your work. Single in your first stitch. Actually, before you do, you can turn your work first and then chain 1. So either way, it doesn't matter, okay? Single in your first stitch, like that, and pop your stitch marker in there like so. All right, and now you single crochet in every stitch all the way across the row, and a single crochet again as we did in the first row. Hook in, pull a loop through like so, 2 loops, yarn over, pull through 2, and into the next, yarn over, pull through 2, next, and so on, all the way across the row. Now let me pop this on fast for you, and off we go. Alrighty guys, how did you go? We are very close to the end of the row. Now we have that second last stitch there. And we have the last stitch. Did I split it? Because before I was worried about splitting it. I'm going to take that out because I think I did. Pop your single crochet in your very last. There we go. Single in your last stitch, guys. I do this in every tutorial. I really do. All right. So now we are at a stage of our work where we're going to start the pattern on the next side. All right. So once again, chain 2 will classify as your first double crochet 1 and 2. This is your pattern row. Part of your pattern row. All right, that's the first row of your pattern. Okay, starting right now. Okay, all right, so now what you need to do is you need to turn your work like normal. Either you turned it this way or you turned it that way, whichever. Just be consistent, and away we go. All right, so we're going to start the pattern straight away. Now the pattern calls for an extended front post stitch. An extended front post stitch means a normal front post stitch, if you're aware of what that is in crochet, except it's done on the second row below, like not that first row that you did, but your second row. All right. For anyone new, all we're doing is doing a normal double crochet around a post, and that's the post. The stitch is up the top and your post is down the bottom. So we're doing it around that post. It's called an extended one because it's dropped, okay? So yarn over your hook. We're passing that stitch. We're going to the post down the bottom. We're popping our hook in the front, around that post, back to the front, and then pull a loop through all that and raise it nice and tall. Don't do the stitch down here, it'll be too tight. And just raise it nice and tall, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through the last 2. And that is your extended front post stitch. All right, I'm going to bring it out a bit because I thought that was a little close. So we'll do that again. No, we won't. We'll do the next stitch is a double crochet on top of your normal stitch like normal. Now that is right there. But if you're unsure of where the stitch is, pull your work over. The very first stitch you see belongs to your extended front post. So the very next stitch will be that stitch you put it into. All right, so not that first one that's right behind your front post, but the one right next to it. You're doing a normal double crochet in there. All right, so you've got your front post there and your double crochet on top, and you're going to do another front post in your very next stitch, which is right here. So grabbing your hook, going in the front around that post like so, pulling a loop through and pulling it up nice and tall, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through the last 2, and then you need to do your double crochet. So yarn over your hook. Remember, if you can't work out which stitch to put it in, when you pull your work to the side, your first stitch is behind that, so you go into the very next stitch. All right, I hope that helps you find your stitches properly. All right, so that's the pattern. That's how simple it is. Front post, double, front post, double, front post, double, all the way through until you get to the end of your row. So let's do our front post. There's our double on top of there. So now we want to do the front post, which is right next to it, and off we go. I'm going to bring that out a little bit more even. Oop, don't drop the work. There we go. Hello. And again, I don't need to look there. I automatically know that that's the next stitch. But you are welcome to have a look if you're struggling and looking for it. And your next one is right there. You know what? It is too far. I want you to see it. Sorry about the big hands, but I do want you to see where I'm putting the hook. We're in that stitch, so we want to go over here and front post in the next stitch. All you need to remember at the end of the row is that you should always have 22 stitches. All right, just remember that at the end of the row. We're going to count that later. And front post, a little tricky but not completely difficult. Check where you are if you're not sure, and your double. Front post like so, and your double. Front post like so, and your double. Front post and double. Front and double. Should end up with 2 double crochets at the end. So front and before you do your next double, double goes there and a double goes in there. All right, so your double goes in your second last stitch and your double goes in top of that very stitch marker stitch, the very first stitch, or the very last stitch I should say, in that side. Now let's take that stitch marker out and let me show you what you have so you can see it nicely. How gorgeous. I'm loving it so much already. Look at that. It looks like it looks like you really did a lot of work to make that look that way, when really it's just front post and double crochet. This is why I love the Alpine Stitch so much. All right, do yourself a favor, count your stitches. Make sure you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, and your stitch marker stitch is 22. You must have 22 at the end of each round, or you've skipped a stitch or you've added a stitch, all right? So just be careful. When I said round, I meant row. Not round. We're not working in the round, Mary. All right, so we're chaining 1, turning your work, single crochet in your first stitch. Okay, this is the second row repeat. Pop your stitch marker in that single crochet. Now, for the rest of your piece, make sure you don't do these single crochet rows too tight. She says, as she's already done the first one too tight. because that will make your work curl. Okay, so just a heads up there. So just allow your hook to glide through every stitch, doing your single crochet all the way across your row. All right, complete that row, get to the stitch marker, and I'll meet you there in a moment. Alrighty guys, here we are at the end of the row. Okay, now what you need to do is right in that second last stitch there, make sure you pop your single crochet because there is one there. And in that stitch with a stitch marker in it, that's really tight for me, I'm going to take my stitch marker out. Oh, don't do them so tight, guys. Pop your single crochet. All right, so once again, you should have 22 stitches across. Chain 1 and 2, turn your work. Now we're going to do the row of the extended front post again, but it's going to be a little different. I do apologize. Pop a stitch marker in and then turn your work. Pop your stitch markers in, guys. Now the reason I want you to get your stitch markers in there, especially if you're new, it's easy to miss that. Let's do that again. That stitch is so tight. It's easy to miss that stitch. All right, 1 and 2. Oh, that's nice and loose. Check that out. Oh, wackadoo schmackadoo. That's fantastic. Who gets excited about a loose stitch? Anyway, all right, turn your work. So once again, we're going to do that extended front post. But we are actually already, our chains are already in this stitch. Okay, they will always act as a double crochet in your extended post rows, right? So that's in there. We need to work into that next stitch. But that next stitch is already an extended front post. For every extended front post in every row, you're going to be putting a double crochet. So you're going to put a double crochet on top of your extended front post, like so. And for every double crochet in your extended row, you're going to be putting the extended front post. Okay, I hope this is making sense. And it gets a lot easier now. You can see exactly where you need to pop your hook. Around that post, pull up a loop nice and tall, yarn over 2, yarn over 2. All right, once again, you need to pop a double crochet on your extended front post, and if you're not sure where that is, just pull it over. There's your first stitch and there's your second. All right, and pop it in that second stitch right there. Yarn over your hook. There is your double crochet, so you're popping an extended post around that double crochet. It's alternating every third row, if you will. Okay, so again, 1 and 2, pop your double crochet on top of that. There's the extended front post. And you want your double crochet, 1 and 2. Your extended front post. It's so simple now, okay? Because you can see 1 and 2. You can see where you're going, because you know not to put your extended front post in this one, right? But to put it in the one double crochet next to it. All right, 1 and 2 in there. And again, extended front post. Sorry about that noise, that's just the stitch marker on the table. And in there, oh, we're almost there. I was going to say head off and complete the row, but look at that. We've done a whole row together. What? Oops, 1 and 2. Yep. I'll make sure I get it in the right stitch. Around that double crochet. That was a little tight, that one. Just be careful, guys, not to make them too tight. And don't make them too loose either, because you don't want the stitches, all, sticking out and everything. Okay, so it's all about consistency, really, like anything. All right, so we're close to the end. Okay, now you've got that last double crochet there. You're going to pop an extended front post. A bit tricky, but that's okay, we can do it. And in that last stitch, where the stitch marker is, you're popping your double crochet. Take out your stitch marker, and that, my dears, is your pattern. It is as simple as that. So your next row, which we're going to do together real quickly, chain 1, turn your work, single crochet in your first stitch, like that. Grab your stitch marker, pop it in there like so. And you are doing your single crochets all the way across the row. All right, so head off on your own, do your single crochets, get to the stitch marker right here, and I'll meet you here in a moment. Alrighty guys, here we are at the end of our row. I have 2 single crochets left. Oh, one in there. And I know I did this loose, but it doesn't look loose. What? Oh, you didn't hear me say that, did you guys? It is loose, it was just awkward. All right, single crochet in your last stitch. Now chain 1 and 2. Get ready, guys, because this is it. This is your pattern over and over again. I'm sorry, pop your stitch marker in there. Pop your stitch marker in. I'm just going to put it like that because you won't be around to see what we're going to do next. What? No, seriously. All right, so where we are here is, and you can see it, you've got your extended double crochet row, I should say stitch there, and you've got a normal double crochet there. So now you're doing exactly what you did in the other row. You're putting an extended double crochet row on your double crochet and a double crochet on your extended double crochet. So there's your double. You're going to pop an extended double crochet there, pull up a loop, yarn over 2, yarn over 2. Okay, in that stitch right there, which is the single crochet above it, you're popping your double crochet. Make sure you're getting in the right stitch. That's the one you're in. So you're going right into that very next one with a double crochet. Okay, extended double crochet on this stitch, around the front, pull up a loop, 3 loops, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through the last 2, double crochet, not in that stitch, but the one right next to it. Guess what? This, my dears, is the pattern. So I believe the pattern is like 4 rows worth, if you think about it, okay? If you think about it, it's that row, a single crochet row, the next row, a single crochet row, and so on, okay? So it really is kind of like 4, and you can see with me doing my single crochets a little tight, it's pulling up. You don't want to do those single crochet rows that tight. Just be wary of that, okay? Even these ones here, don't do these elongated stitches tight because that will turn your work in completely. It does curl a little bit to begin with and it does straighten up a little, but just be wary of how tight you are pulling at these loops and how tight you are pulling at your single crochets. Now, let's talk measurements real fast. Across this way, you need to have roughly 20 centimeters or 8 inches. And I have almost 8 inches. So it does stretch out a little bit, guys, so don't stress too much there. Now, the other way as well, you need to have your 20 centimeters or 8 inches this way as well. So I would suggest maybe making about 16 to 18 rows roughly. And we are talking, when I say 16 to 18 rows, we are talking 4 sets, if you know what I mean. 4, 8, 12, that kind of thing, right up to 16 rows. Guessing. This is guessing because it also depends on your tension and how tightly you crochet or loosely you crochet. So I would suggest doing 16 rows altogether, and that's including your single crochets and your extendeds, whatever. Do about 16 rows, check it. In fact, what you do is do roughly 14 rows and just see where you're up to. You might be like up to there. Let's have a close up. Do you know what I mean? You might be up to your 17 or your 7th inch. So you might need to do another 2 sets. So between 14 and 16 rows altogether. And if that doesn't work, just do another set of 4. Just keep going until you reach your 8 inches. Now, I think I'll be doing roughly between 16 and 18 rows now. All right. So head off on your own, complete that row, that row, that row. There's 4 rows it's a 4 set if you think about it, okay? It's not really, it's kind of really just a 2-row repeat, but on every 3rd row it looks a little bit different. So you have to make sure you do your extended double crochets on top of a double crochet and your double crochet on top of your extended double crochet. All right, single crochet rows, basic. Don't do them so tight. I shall meet you up here when you've done your gazillion rows, and we'll talk about what we're going to do next. All right, head off on your own, do your rows, and I'll meet you here in a moment. Alrighty guys, how gorgeous does that look? And we are at the end of our final single crochet row. I'm sorry, I'm very sing-songy guys, and you know why, because it's not just the end of this swatch, it's the end of our swatches completely. So let's pop that last single crochet in that last stitch like so. Pull a loop through, take out that stitch marker, chain 1 and give your work a cut. Oops, as you've been doing all along. And well, when I say all along, I mean in general. Pull the loop through, give everything a tug, grab your sewing, weaving, darning, crazy needle right here. And this is actually, that's your right side of your work. But you know what? I actually don't mind this side either. So there you go. But this is the wrong side of your work, because this is the, oh my gosh, this is such a gorgeous stitch. I'm so glad I left the Alpine Stitch to the last swatch, but there you go. All right, so you need to weave this end in, and I've already weaved in the other end. So the way we weave in this one, weave the other end in exactly the same. So, or however you want to do it. Now you can, oh hello, we're too far away. Let's move all this out the way. Okay, you can weave yours in down this way because we are going to be crocheting over this, or you can weave it across here, or you can just go inside some stitches like that. Now these are the single crochet stitches that we just did, and I've split all the yarn there, all right? But I don't like that because it's just not split enough for me. You like that? It's not split enough. So you've got to go right in there. So you can still split it, but just so that you can't really see the splits. There you go. Just check you can't see the needle from the other side. Remember guys, you can weave it in over this way, and you can weave it in down there if you like. So just pulling that loop through like so. I'm giving this little guy right here a bit of a tug, and just want to make it nice and straight as well. You don't want it to be pulling, yeah? And then I'm really going to stretch it out, because when we take the photo later, it'll be pulling, and I don't want it to. All right, so there you go. And that is the look we are going for without seeing the needle from the front. And that's my second time I'm going through. Now yours truly, as you know, my regulars would, that is, I'm a bit of a stickler, so I'm going through one last time. For someone who doesn't like weaving in ends, I really am quite thorough with it. And there you go. So you can't see the needle, and let's go. Guess what? Get too excited. This is the last time you'll be cutting a weaved piece of one of our swatches. Just give it all a tug, turn it over, ta-da! Your swatch is now complete. Now, remembering when I said earlier on in the piece, being careful not to do your single crochets too tight. Well, that's what happens when they're done a bit tight. They turn up a little bit, all right? So there you go. It's nothing a good washing and blocking can't fix. Plus, when we attach this to the blanket, it's all going to sit nicely in place. So guess what, guys? We're going to measure up. Okay, I know this piece here is probably a tad bigger than what we usually... Oh, actually, it's not bad. Whoops, it's probably too close, but there you go. It's from there all the way to there. When I say a tad bigger, it's exactly 8 inches and tiny little bit over 20.4 centimeters or something like that. And that's the width. And now the length is... There we go. Oops, don't pull it. So the length is a tiny little bit smaller for me. Let's have a look, straighten it up a bit. Yeah, it's just under 20 centimeters and just under 8 inches. All right, but that's okay because a tiny little bit is not a problem. That's it. That's it. Well, move everything out the way. Thank you so much for joining us for our swatches this year at Wow Crochet Designs. Now, again, if you are joining us new and you haven't done these swatches, you still have not missed out. Go ahead and make all these swatches. They are on YouTube. They're in the playlist in the description box down below. Just click on that playlist, start from number 1 and work your way up to this gorgeous divine piece that I love so much. Work your way up to this piece, and next week, get excited, guys. We will be putting our swatches together. Look at me shake. But I'm just so excited that we've actually finished our swatches. I feel like there's a bit of light at the end of the tunnel now. We're starting to get excited. Well, I'm always excited, as you know. All right, so thank you so much for watching, guys. Don't forget the washing and blocking or steam and blocking is coming up, and don't forget to like, subscribe and share and do all the wonderful things that you guys, well, yeah, pretty much already do for me. And join us on our lives at Wednesday afternoon at 4 p.m. and Saturday mornings 10 a.m. Melbourne, Australia time. And all I can say right now is I love my Alpine Stitch. Ciao for now.